Hello and welcome to today's session where we will learn how AppDynamics was leveraged in Solar Turbine's journey to full stack observability. Let's check it out. In today's agenda, we're going to talk about introductions, Solar Turbine's digital transformation journey, migrating to the AWS cloud, why AppDynamics, and some of the key learnings and takeaways from this process. About the speakers, hi everyone, my name is Vikram Parmar. I'm a senior technical manager, product marketing at AppDynamics. With 15 years in technology space, I worked closely with cross-functional teams to architect, implement, manage solutions both on-prem and in the cloud like AWS. I'm very customer-centric and passionate about problem solving, and I work closely with enterprise customers like Thomas to develop cloud migration and adoption solutions that help businesses drive growth. Now let's introduce Thomas as well. Thomas, over to you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Thomas Husak, and it's an honor to be part of this panel with AppDynamics. I am a software engineering manager and DevOps and operations lead in the group SolarDigital, which is a customer service group within Solar Turbines. I've been with this company for about 7 years. As you can hear from my accent, I'm coming from Europe. I lived some time in Prague, and all my life I've been in the software development, mostly in databases. And then I switched my career journey when I moved to the United States. And it's at 7 years I'm with SolarDigital. It's been a tremendous journey for me, and like constant learning and constant innovation and constant experience. So, I love it there, and hopefully you will love my presentation or learn something from it. You're going to take something so you can implement it in your own companies. And hopefully this is going to be valuable time you spend on my presentation. So let me move forward with my, as I said, I'm working in a group called SolarDigital, which is part of Solar Turbines. For those who don't know the company, most of you most probably don't. Solar Turbines can be considered as a traditional industrial company, and we are producing and designing and manufacturing industrial gas turbines for onshore and offshore electrical power generation, for marine propulsion, and for producing, processing, and transporting natural and gas and oil. That's the picture in the middle, so you can see like it's really heavy machinery that we're working on. And for you to understand what we are doing as a SolarDigital, we are providing IT solutions for all those machines and really heavy machinery. Um, as you can imagine, like it's a huge scope that we're currently working on. But it wasn't always so. So really, like Solar Turbines started to investing money and other funds into customer service groups such as SolarDigital about 15 years ago. And that's really the time when our group grew from about 12 people to, let's say, 300 plus, currently having different development centers across the globe. Currently, we have 4. And as you can imagine, like with all of that, like even the scope and everything what we're doing changed significantly. So basically, from only saying like we're monitoring and reporting and alerting the customers when something goes wrong with their turbines and machinery, you can think of everything around that. So really, I have condition monitoring, reporting, alerting, as I said, documentation stores, incident tracking systems, predictive analytics, trend detection tools, many other tools which I can spend hours and hours of talking about, but obviously we don't have time. So really, 15 years ago, our company started to develop and introduce new things, and obviously customers got used to it and they love our system. So this is really just like an example of a couple of 3 tools which I have here on my screen what we're doing. And again, as you can see, we're considered a traditional industrial companies, but if we want to provide the service, the level of service to customers that we want, we need to undergo digital transformation, obviously. What does it mean, digital transformation or cultural transformation, as we call it in the beginning? So currently, you can consider really you're staying at home and your TV can tell you like what you're watching, can do some analytics or some can kind of monitor your behavior, like what you're doing. It's not the TV. It could be couch. It could be fridge. It could be whole house. It could be everything that people are currently using. Called Internet of Things, but it's just a term. But really, people are used to that kind of level of service that products that didn't do that before are currently doing that. And obviously, all of that goes into industry as well. So our industry considered heavy machinery, industrial industry, but obviously customers currently want to do the same thing as they do at home. That means, they're expecting the turbines to be clever. They're expecting the heavy machinery to do something for them, which was not expected before. And all of that led us through cultural and digital transformation. This is very kind of interesting slide, I would say. Many companies, including AWS, have leadership principles or pillars of success. Our company has it as well. You can see it here. Integrity, commitment, excellence, sustainability, and teamwork is the corporate strategy that we want to work on. But on the bottom here, you can see something you wouldn't expect in the traditional manufacturing industrial company: digital solutions and new horizons. So already, or also in the big scope of industrial company, you really can see we're thinking digitally and new horizons. Where can we go? How can we improve? What can we deliver faster and better, basically, for the customers, which are expecting that from us? So digital solutions, new horizons, they are really very important here. And also these became a part of our corporate strategy. Even we are not in that sphere, you would expect that. So internally, what we do when we say digital transformation is important, we kind of realize that it's not only digital transformation, it's really cultural transformation, because you have to explain to people why it's important to change something, right? Everything was working before, but all of a sudden you're saying we need to do something else. And people and company and enterprises, you don't want to spend money on that because everything's working, right? So why would you even do that? So we're calling it, like, before we talk about digital transformation, we need to do cultural transformation and understand, like, what is expected from what we're doing. Um, let me give a couple of examples where we went with our cultural transformation and digital transformation. So obviously, agility, agile, and automation are our processes. I don't want to spend too much time on this one because almost every single company around the world spent time and efforts on being agile, being able to respond to customer needs, and being able to deliver on demand and trying to get there. But this is not only about agile. It's really, agile was just the first step where we went, right? And then you build on top of that. So adding automation, added different CI/CD pipelines, added growing the scope of the agile into scaled agile framework, for example, in our company, and different other things. So again, people are asking, like, hey, we spent time on cultural transformation or on starting to working on the agile, but why do we need to embrace that more and more? And you have to explain that to your people, why it's important and why it brings benefits to all of you. So, agile is our first point. Migrating to cloud, same thing, right? I mean, you have something that is working on premise, but why? How can you explain to people, customers, owners, stakeholders that it is really important to migrate to cloud, and why is that important? Next thing is embracing some clever monitoring. Obviously, this is the panel for AppDynamics, but all of the companies are using some type of monitoring, but you want to make it better, right? You want to make really respond quicker and being aware of something's going on before your customer know, and just being more proactive, like really not just going through the log files and checking what happened in the past, but really moving all that into the future. That means, like, am I hitting any limits anywhere? Am I good? Is something going to happen? Like, should I know before? Can I lower down the downtime for our customers somehow by embracing good monitoring? These are all the questions you need to answer, starting with the cultural transformation. Um, Next one I have here is obviously digitalizing operations. So how to make that efficient, right? If something already goes wrong, how to approach different people, your team members, how to make it really efficient, that you know how to route the incidents, and how to make sure it's not going to happen again. If it happens again, so you know the answer, how to solve the incident. So all it's a separate huge project that we have to, when we have to go through, and you have to embrace, but you have to mentally embrace it first before you jump into the project, which is the cultural transformation again. Last one I have here, obviously every single company around the world is just spending important time on the security, right? That means like you're automating everything, but are you sure you're not breaking any security rules or any security breaches? You have to be sure about that. Spend time on that one and try to explain to your own developers, customers, stakeholders, your teams, like why it's important. Because I've been a developer before, and for me it was a question: why do I have to spend more and more time on something when I need to deliver? No, it's important, really. Security and DevSecOps and automation with security, it's really critical in current days. I don't want to spend more time on this one. Again, it's so many more things I can talk about. I'd love to, but let's move forward. So migration to AWS, obviously that's really important, and it's part of the panel that I want to spend some time on. So really, when we started migrating to, or started to think how we're going to migrate to AWS, it was a question there. How can you innovate fast enough when you don't have the services on hand that you need to use? Or how can you respond to faster to the customer's needs when you're hitting the infrastructure, limits with the on-prem? Or how can you focus on delivery, on time delivery to your customers when you have to spend time on maintenance, right? Three big questions, right? And we thought like we really want to be much more faster, and we want to be much more responsive to our customers. And we went through different like checkpoints, like if we are ready even going to cloud, if it makes sense. Like that cultural transformation and mind shift change was for us very important, saying, are we ready to go? And you have to say, or we have to say, like 2 or 3 years back when we started thinking about migration to cloud, we met with all the clever people within the group, within the enterprise, and we met together and we said like, no, we're not ready yet. Because our environments, our infrastructure, our code base, our applications were not ready yet. And we decided, just hold on, just spend time on the refactoring, spend some time on being ready, in fact, going to AWS. It took us about a year, implementing microservices and using some common packages, using some common ways how to make things basically on the same page, so that we can embrace the journey to AWS. After a year we spent on that one, it's very important. You have to really think that you have to spend some time. I mean, maybe the company won't be ready yet, and it's important to understand that. After that time, we meet again with all the same people, and we said now is the time to go. So about 1.5 years ago, we started to migrate, or to think we will be migrating to cloud. But obviously, it was not AWS immediately. So we spent time on the comparison, like AWS versus other cloud providers, and we went into AWS versus GCP. GCP gave us pretty good feedback, or ground for the analytics, which we were impressed about. But then we said they're not fast enough to innovate, right? I mean, you really want to go faster with the requirements of the customers, the level of services, the level of support from the cloud provider. Obviously, we couldn't compare. So we decided, no, let's go with the AWS, and we stick to that one. And we are in the migration currently, right? So again, pre-migration, many other analysis, financial, architecture analysis, what we're going to do, how we're going to migrate, basically. We decided to go infrastructure as a service, not lift and shift. So it's not only just pick it up and put it there and just live with AWS. No, we're doing refactoring. We're making our services better, so it's easier to maintain, and it's up to date, right? We wanna keep the pace with everyone, basically. So even if we are a traditional manufacturing company, we are considered ourselves like, no, we're good in the IT world. So again, bit of change, defining strategy, very important. This was all pre-migration. Then, and currently, or we're post-implementation phase for some of our projects, but we started developing the AWS CloudFormation templates. We worked with security groups. We reviewed different LTAs and if security is really secure, how we're gonna approach the how we're gonna approach how people can access the so-called infrastructure in AWS. How we gonna define the strategy of the deployment. So different CI/CD pipelines, sizing of the EC2s and everything in cloud and databases. It's really important during the implementation phase what we did. Then currently we are in the migration phase where obviously you have to check with all the other groups within your company, right? That means performance, load, stress testing. The business needs to sign off that the performance is acceptable, and really everything is working as it's supposed to be. You need to set up the new dev practices because the developers and software engineers are used to the on-prem world. That means their own focus on delivering, coding, deploying, and everything. Now all of a sudden it's going to change everything. It's build and destroy, something that they need to think of. And last but not least, monitoring, right? I mean, everyone has some monitoring in on-prem systems, but in AWS or in cloud, like you're investing so much time and money and time and everything into migration. So why do not invest in good monitoring or something that is really innovative and pushing you and pulling you forward? Um, and post migration, obviously, all of those things that I mentioned before, those practices that we set up, you need to have knowledge transfer, you need to set up processes for maintenance. That's going to change completely. And in the end, like obviously, sure, it's gonna have some financial impact, so metrics and statistics on performance, and also about like how much you're spending, costs, etc. So this big scheme was discussed before we went into migration. It's discussed during the migration. It's going to be discussed post migration. But as where we are currently with our flagship application, we spent a significant amount of time and we are ready to go. And performance is better. Monitoring's been implemented. Practices has been set up. By the end of 2020, we're going live with our flagship application in AWS. Huge effort for our company. We're not calling it cultural anymore. We're past that point. We call it really digital transformation that we worked on, and we're pretty happy about that. But it doesn't mean we're going to end there. Next year, all the other applications which I mentioned in the beginning of my presentation or panel, we're going to migrate those as well. So it's a continuous effort, but now we're in a good spot. We know where to go, how to approach that, and we're just going to start, implementing and migrating. So pretty excited about that. I mentioned, also obviously AWS, huge effort, cultural change, digital transformation, monitoring. I hit it only shortly in the beginning, but when we're talking cultural transformation, you really have to think about, like, you are monitoring even now, but you want to be better, right? It's really embarrassing when your customer tells you something's not working. It's literally too late when something happens to start investigating why it happened. So again, we did some investigation and analysis between AppDynamics and other companies. We chose AppDynamics, and I have like 3 bullet points here, which are really important for me as a software engineering manager and really working in software development. Proactive monitoring. This is like huge. Know before your customers. I'm going to say it many more times because AppDynamics, when we implemented it, synthetic scripts and different analytics on top of that one, you really know when your application is on a trend downwards. That means if you're on the verge of really hitting some threshold somewhere, something's gonna happen. You will know it before your customer. You can fix it before your customer, and your customer will never see that. Issues happen, outages happen, but you need to be sure that you really understand them, why they happen. So again, my top one for AppDynamics, proactive monitoring, synthetic scripts, everything we set up. You can see really on the bottom here, picture why and how did we set it up. The very next one is troubleshooting, or I'll call it back to the roots. Um, Everyone knows, like, really digging through the logs, Tomcats, Apache, and different other logs, and really trying to understand why things happen and when they happen already. And really, just that's not enough, right? We set up different different methods in AppDynamics which are telling you like all the dependencies between your applications and where the issue is coming from. It's really not just checking one particular Tomcat, JVM, whatever. Just seeing like, hey, this is the error point. This is where the issue is coming from. No, like it's really, as you can see on this picture, is a flow map. You can see all the connectors or the dependencies between applications, and it will point you directly to the troubleshooting where you want where you want to have it. So another thing, again, I call it back to the roots, but it's really not back to the roots. It's a change in mindset again as well. And the last one, which was embraced by our business more or less, it's something that you need to understand. It's not the primary kind of point for AppDynamics or any application performance monitoring, but those tools give you really visibility on how the customers behave. And that means you can make better business decisions based on these different end user monitoring flow maps, seeing like where the customers are going, what they're using, and you can make decisions on the business level without asking them, saying really, like, our customers are not using some of the application parts. Why is that, right? You can make your own analysis based on behavior of the customers, and then you can surprise them. Or the other use case is like you can have real data before you talk to your customers. Like, hey, you're not using this. Why are you not using that? Did we do something wrong? So it's that feedback loop with your customer, but you already have the data. You didn't have the data before. Now you have it. So it's a great win for you guys. And I cannot spend more time on the end user monitoring in my professional career, but I love to, because it's really huge value for the business stakeholders, owners, and everyone who's making business decisions on the company level. This is a big win for them.
Thanks, Thomas, for that deep insight into how you migrated to AWS. I'm very excited to see what Solar Turbine and the SolarDigital team has done so far in their digital transformation journey. Moving to cloud is no small feat, and Solar Turbine's team have managed to refactor their application to leverage the cutting-edge AWS services without impacting their end-user performance or the business. Let's find out what additional functionality companies like Solar Turbines can use to continue innovating in the cloud. Companies want to leverage AWS services for many reasons, such as scalability and agility, but also like to keep many business and user data on-prem. When you run your applications in hybrid cloud, it is important that you gain visibility into all services across the application ecosystem, regardless of where it is running, whether it's on-prem or the cloud. This dependency mapping quickly shows you service interaction, including database, AWS services, and even third-party HTTP calls. If you leverage serverless technology like AWS Lambda, you can still monitor, visualize all of them in a single UI. Our agents create automatic dynamic baseline for all metrics captured within hours, so you can monitor your entire application stack with confidence. We recently launched this cloud native visualization feature where you can quickly see how applications and infrastructure, including AWS services, interact with each other across your application ecosystem. When you are troubleshooting applications, find how it interacts with each other through your application infrastructure running in AWS without bothering your IT teams who may be halfway across the world in a different time zone. Break silos, not your application or your business, using this cloud native visualization where we will automatically map all the relationship between different entities. Now, this is another new feature that we recently launched. AI Ops is on the rise, and IT teams are managing more complex applications and infrastructure environments now than ever before. Developers continue to innovate and influence application architecture, leveraging cloud-native services from Amazon, but IT teams are still accountable for uptime and availability. With automated transaction diagnostics, isolate problem areas faster with advanced AI/ML using Cognition Engine. Now you can quickly analyze business transactions such as login, checkout, payments, or anything else that is very important to your business by isolating anomalous behavior from the rest. Learn the root cause, pinpoint the issues rapidly before the issue becomes a major downtime event. Now that you have learned some of the key recently launched features of AppDynamics, let's go back to Thomas and learn what are the key learnings and takeaways in the process of migrating to cloud. Thomas, over to you.
So this is the end of my presentation, guys. And again, really, I'm honored that you found some time to join my panel and you spend time listening to me, what I'm talking about. And really, it's been an honor. But if you really want to have some more information, like don't hesitate, like contacting me on the different social networks. But really, summary here is, don't be afraid of migrating to AWS. Just make your pre-planning, make your analysis, and just try to explain to your business. And it is an advantage in front of the other companies. I wouldn't even say advantage. Currently, it's more like if you don't do that, you're going to lose your advantage more or less in the world that we're living. Uh, Improving, application performance, stability, quantify user experience, increase operational efficiency, deliver continuous observability, and accelerate digital transformation. All these are key values for sure. But I mean, in the world that we're living in currently, the innovation and moving fast forward is really important. As I said, customers are expecting, even from the companies as ours, to be more IT, to be more customer focused, to be more faster, to be more responsive, to be more innovative. So just spend time on that. It's really important that you do that. And that's more or less from me. I'd really like to thank you. And I know 2020 has been really difficult year for every single one of us. But again, this is a part of my presentation as well. So can you consider like 2020 happened in 2005, right? Many of the things that I talked about, agile and innovation and continuous integration, monitoring, AWS, these things didn't exist at the time, right? So I would say if 2020 happened in 2005, many good companies would have been gone. Many more good companies would have been gone, and we cannot imagine what's going to happen in the future. So I mean, losing time on not innovating or embracing what I talked about, we don't know what's going to happen in 2025. So this is a good step forward, but there are more important things. So I wish you all just be safe, be healthy, and again, I'm happy that you joined my panel, but be focused on the innovation and digital transformation. That's what I'd like to say to you. Thanks a lot, guys.